And joining us now on the line now is Susan Ferrechio from the Washington Examiner. And by the way, Susan, congratulations. You broke the story, I think, on WMAL that Mitch McConnell was opposed to any consideration of this matter anytime soon. He thinks the next nominee should come from the next president.
Hey, good morning, guys. So that was really kind of interesting Saturday night because I think I was anticipating that McConnell would wait a little while before he made any statement about what was going to come down the pike in the Senate when the president nominates somebody, which we know he will eventually do. And he was really quick to say that he thinks the next president should be the one to pick the replacement for Antonin Scalia. And I thought that was, the speed with which he did that, I think is a real indication of what we're going to see in the coming months here. I really do not believe Republicans are going to change their minds on this one. I think the president will nominate somebody, and the Republicans will hold their ground. The year will go by, and they will not take up this nomination. The big question, though, is what will that mean for the Senate and for Congress? And what I predict could happen is the Democrats, once there is a nominee, once the Republicans declare that they're not going to take that nominee up for consideration, you'll see probably some gridlock in the Senate. They had been passing some legislation, some big legislation with bipartisan cooperation, and they had anticipated this year there would be more of that, and that they would pass these individual spending bills that we've talked about on the show before, the appropriations measures, to try to get them done in a timely and orderly fashion rather than those big omnibus deals we're always coping with at the end of the year. I wonder now if that's all going to be kind of locked up because Democrats may respond to Republicans for not taking up the nomination by filibustering everything else. That I'm told is a viable option for them right now. They could do that. And just to continue to make a statement about the Supreme Court nominee. I mean, this is really going to produce pretty much a war between the Democrats and the Republicans in Congress because Democrats are going to be pretty angry that the president's nominee cannot get consideration in the Senate. And Republicans, of course, know that they must hold the line on this. I mean, McConnell is already under intense criticism from the base over the way he cooperates with Democrats in the Senate. And there's absolutely no way that he can back down on this. And I think his quick statement on Saturday night to that effect is an indication of where he's going with this once we do find out who the nominee is.
Yeah, and Susan, and by the way, we want to hear from you at 888-630 WMAL. What do you want Republicans to do about this, and do you worry about the political fallout if, as Susan just painted, if they do block any nominee? Susan, let's play this out for a minute. Republicans block any nominee that the president makes to the Supreme Court for the rest of this year. I mean, we're talking about a 9-month proposition here, 10-month proposition until the election. Then the Democrats drag their feet on any kind of spending or anything else happening in the Senate, basically, and filibuster it. At some point, the Senate has to go into recess. Is there any discussion about what would happen if the president makes a recess appointment to fill that vacancy?
Right. That is under discussion right now on Capitol Hill. And I would contend that there won't be a recess. The Congress does not have to recess formally. Don't forget there were recess appointments that the president assigned, and then they were found to be not valid because of the way he did it.
By the Supreme Court, by the way.
Court, yeah.
That's correct. And now remember, a recess is different than them not being in session. This is all very much in the weeds. But they can stay in what we call pro forma sessions, where they're not doing much, but they're not out of session. And I think that that's what you're going to see for 9 months. Now, they have the recess in August, in July when they're off at the conventions. But somebody can come in every 2 days, and every other day, rather, and just come in and out in a pro forma manner. And that's not an official recess. A recess, I think there's a big debate over what a recess really is. And you can probably count on Republicans working to ensure that they're battening down the hatches there in Congress in a way that will not allow the president to make an appointment like that. However, that does not preclude him from trying to do it anyway. just to get somebody on the court that can help sway some of these big decisions that were left unfinished.
You know, I guess there is one thing, though, that could happen here that nobody seems to be talking about and that the president could make a calculation that, look, if I really want to have an impact and I really want to have a nominee that is on the Supreme Court, then what I should do is appoint someone that the Republicans would find acceptable. Is that something this president might do, or does he really want the battle?
Well, the first thing I thought when after we found out about Scalia's death was that that's exactly what the president's going to do. So we knew the Republicans were going to find some way to not pick up a nomination right now. So the only thing, if the president knows that his nominee is never going to make it, then of course he's going to have to select somebody who can bring the most political advantage to the party. How do you do that? You pick somebody that the Republicans will look as though they can't say no to. And so they'll look terrible, look like obstructionists, they'll look like they can't govern. The president will say, look at my reasonable choice, my reasonable, attractive choice, and the Republicans here are sitting on it. That gives the Democrats talking point after talking point at the podiums in the Senate for the remainder of the year. So I suspect that is exactly what will happen. I mean, you even have Orrin Hatch, the senator from Utah, Republican senator from Utah, warning the president, don't nominate me. I mean, there's all kinds of rumors out there who he may select to say, hey, what do you think? This guy's, but the president, of course, would never pick Orrin Hatch. You know, he has to be careful. The president can't pick somebody that's not aligned with him politically.
Of course.
So
I mean, that's why this discussion is mind-boggling to me, because how can he pick someone who would be acceptable to Republicans? Because there's no way he's going to pick somebody who is not going to uphold his agenda, his very liberal agenda. It's a non-starter.
But if you want the argument and not the actual nominee, and you want to make the case, like Susan said, I made a reasonable suggestion, and look at these Republicans. And then you got all these Senate campaigns going on.
Name someone who would be a reasonable. Well, this is for our discussion, Susan. We don't want to drag you into it, but you did a great job, Susan. Thank you so much for breaking it right here on WMAL with Steve Malzberg Saturday afternoon.
Oh, sure. And I would also say that, he may not pick someone that is a reasonable choice for Republicans. He also may go the other way and pick somebody who makes the Republicans look like, wait, they don't want to take up the nomination of a woman. They don't want to take up the nomination of a minority. They don't want to take up the nomination of somebody who's gay or lesbian or transgender. Well, no. He could come up with anyone that could make the Republicans look to excite the Democratic base, in other words.
Supreme Court
Justice squirm,
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Supreme Court Justice nominee Caitlyn Jenner. Thank you, Susan Ferrechio.